One of the most senior and most accomplished players in tennis is nearing the inevitable end of his glorious career, Rafael Nadal. Ever since Roger Federer's exit from the international tennis stage, now all eyes are on Nadal. His peak competitive times are behind him, but he's still got juice in his tank. Let's check out what the comments and speculations around him are. Starting off, Alexander Zverev had some revealing comments regarding Nadal's future. Following the retirements of Roger Federer and Serena Williams last year, many have speculated on who will be the next to go, and Alexander Zverev believes it will be Rafael Nadal. Zverev has just recently returned to the circuit after a devastating ankle injury in last year's French Open semi-final match against Nadal sidelined him for 6 months. While the former world number 2 is excited to return to the court this year and compete for his first Grand Slam championship, he feels it will also be the year that tennis loses yet another great. In an interview with Eurosport, Zverev claimed that he expects Nadal to win his 15th French Open championship, but will retire from professional tennis at the same time. Following the retirement of fellow Big Three member Federer in September and the multiple injuries suffered by Nadal over the previous year, speculation about his retirement has been rampant. However, when Nadal was asked about his retirement plans after losing to Cameron Norrie in the United Cup last month, the Spaniard grew irritated and emphasized that retirement was not in the cards just yet. Moving on, let's check out Nadal's star-studded history. Rafael Nadal, sometimes known as the King of Clay, is the best single-surface expert in tennis history, as well as one of the greatest players overall. With 22 Grand Slam titles, Nadal is the outright leader of major winners. More notably, Nadal has won 14 French Open titles, making him by far the most successful player in a single major. While he began as a challenger to Federer, consistently defeating the Swiss ace on all surfaces, Nadal has evolved into an all-court great in his own right. Nadal has become a more attacking player in recent years, standing closer to the baseline and seizing the initiative in games as quickly as feasible. This has made him a far more dangerous threat on non-clay surfaces, and it's also helped him win large titles on grass and hard courts. Nadal's forehand is a renowned stroke, and his single most powerful weapon, giving all of his opponents nightmares, most notably Federer. On the forehand, the Spaniard employs an exaggerated Western hold, allowing him to impart massive topspin and bounce the ball up to his opponent's shoulders. Next up, more on Nadal's legendary tactics. Because he's a left-hander, his standard stroke, the cross-court forehand, falls into the backhand corner of right-handed players, making it tough for them to respond. For players with single-handed backhands, the Nadal forehand is especially tough to deal with. His backhand is also quite strong. While he first utilized that wing mostly as a rally shot, he has recently been flattening it out, transforming it into another dangerous weapon. His cross-court backhand is one of the finest in the world, and many credits it to his ambidextrous nature. He can strike equally hard off both sides. Nadal's foot speed and court covering are among the finest in tennis history. Players frequently launch rocket ground strokes into the corners, believing they've earned a victory, only for Nadal to rush out of nowhere and make an incredible get. By forcing his opponents to hit one more shot, he causes them to make several mistakes, which is especially effective on clay. Nadal's serve is one of his few flaws. It lacks the pace and venom that many other great players possess. His lefty slider out wide in the court, on the other hand, offers him a natural edge since he can move the ball away from the opponent's backhand on most break opportunities. Further, talking about his rivalries and legacy. The Spaniard's early career was characterized by his rivalry with Federer. Rafa's supremacy over the Swiss was a huge discussion point in the tennis world in the 2000s, as Federer swept through practically every other opponent he faced with amazing ease, but couldn't find out how to beat Nadal. The Federer-Nadal rivalry reached a climax in the 2008 Wimbledon final, when Nadal finally realized his ambition of winning Wimbledon after a 4-hour and 48-minute fight. Since then, he's had the upper hand in the head-to-head battle. Nadal has also forged a long-standing rivalry with Novak Djokovic. The two have met several times, with a pretty evenly split of matches. Nadal's capacity to battle until his last breath is what has made him a sports cult figure. Despite facing famous shotmakers such as Federer and Djokovic, he's fought for every point in every match as if his life depended on it, allowing him to turn the tables on them. He has millions of admirers who shout enthusiastically anytime he goes into an intense 5-setter, and he wins the majority of them, as seen by his gladiatorial triumph over Dominic Thiem in the US Open 2018 quarterfinal. Also, Roland Garros is where Nadal established himself as the king of clay. Nadal's clay court skill and records are legendary. No player, male or female, has ever dominated a single surface like Nadal. For more than a decade, only Robin Soderling had ever upset Nadal at Roland Garros. It wasn't until Djokovic demonstrated to the world in 2015 that Nadal wasn't invincible in Paris. But that was merely a hiccup, as Nadal bounced back to win more French Open championships, firmly cementing himself as the king of clay once and for all. Nadal also exemplifies how to overcome adversities and physical constraints. He's battled various ailments during his career, the most serious of which is a persistent knee problem. Now, will Alexander Zverev be a tennis star for the next decade? The life of a professional tennis player is fraught with adversity, and German Alexander Zverev must be well aware of this. The 24-year-old has been on the courts of the Diriyah Tennis Cup in Dubai for an exhibition match, while recovering from a devastating injury sustained during the last Roland Garros. While it will take time for him to regain his top form, there's still optimism that he can be the finest player of his age. Zverev, who possesses a powerful backhand and the ability to play on quick courts, should continue to rise to the top of the rankings throughout his career, finally beating Djokovic and winning the Olympics. One of the most important tennis tournaments in 2020 was the Tokyo Olympics, which Zverev won after defeating Novak Djokovic in the semi-finals and smashing Karen Khachanov 6-1, 6-1 in the final. It was a surprising triumph, not just for Zverev, who was 22 at the time, but also for Germany, which had not won a gold medal since Steffi Graf in 1988. One of Zverev's best strengths is his versatility, which has allowed him to win tournaments on a variety of fast surfaces, including indoor, clay, and hard courts. Given that he's one of the few players who have defeated Rafael Nadal on clay, he has a promising future. Secondly, Zverev's career hit a speed bump. Zverev's career was put on hold after he suffered a catastrophic ankle injury during a match against Rafael Nadal at the French Open in June, and he was unable to play for the rest of 2022. During that period, his ATP rating dropped from 2 to 12, but he's currently back on the court playing an exhibition match during the Dubai Tennis World Tournament. Zverev is Germany's greatest hope for becoming the finest male tennis player in the world, but his comeback will take time. His bad performance at the Diriyah Tennis Cup does not represent his ability and tenacity, and analysts predict that Zverev will be back to his best in 2023. Boris Becker, a former Grand Slam champion, believes Zverev has the potential to become the greatest German player of all time, and encourage the next generation of German players to take up the game. To develop a top-tier career, he must win at least one Grand Slam. The good news is that Zverev is still young and has a long career ahead of him. We gotta wait and see what happens in his next exhibition match in Dubai, while the rest of the world is waiting to see when the German star will be able to play his best tennis again. Also, Zverev is back in high spirits after 6 months out. Alexander Zverev will make his 6-month injury comeback this week when he participates for Team Germany in the United Cup. The two-time Nitto ATP Finals champion tore 3 ligaments in his right ankle during a semi-final match against Rafael Nadal at Roland Garros in June, then had a bone edema injury in September. After a difficult stint on the sidelines, the 25-year-old is relieved to be able to participate in Sydney during the next 2 weeks. Team Germany was led by Zverev in the United Cup, a new 18-country mixed teams event staged in Brisbane, Perth, and Sydney. Lastly, Roger Federer won't be attending big competitions to cheer for Nadal. Roger Federer has declined an invitation to this year's Australian Open, despite the excitement of his longtime friends and on-court rivals Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic resuming their Grand Slam rivalry. Nadal is attempting to retain his crown from last year, while Djokovic wants a 10th Melbourne victory to equal Nadal's 22 slams. According to The Age, the 41-year-old chose not to accept. Instead, he will watch the competition from home. Federer is said to have no plans to spend time traveling around the world to different events at this time. Despite his decision not to travel to Australia this season, the Australian Open hopes to welcome Federer back in 2024. The event will commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Swiss legend's first triumph in Melbourne. The Australian Open in 2024 was only his second Grand Slam victory, following Wimbledon in 2003. The welcome mat will always be rolled out for Roger, a Tennis Australia official stated. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Nadal will retire after the Roland Garros? Let us know in the comments below. It'd be awesome if you gave this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe for more scrumptious videos like this. See you in the next one.